Bound for Glory. It is a night when the stars of Impact Wrestling shine their brightest. A night when legacies are created, heroes emerge. A night when legends forge indelible moments in the crucible of their hearts under the brightest of lights. For history books to record, we to remember, and all the world to see.
For me, it's about going out there, showing the people what we can do, going out there, showing what Impact Wrestling is all about. If you have never seen Impact Wrestling, or you haven't tuned in for a while, you tune into Bound for Glory and you'll be hooked as a fan. That I can guarantee.
Just look at the history of Impact Wrestling / TNA. It's always been Bound for Glory. Bound for Glory is like our Super Bowl. I mean, just look at last year. We sold out a huge arena in Chicago, you know? So I'm excited for this year's Bound for Glory.
When you think of big shows for Impact Wrestling, you think of BFG, because at BFG, anything is possible. Look at last year. The draw Sami Callihan in the main event had one of the greatest matches in Impact Wrestling history. And this year, with the entire world watching, Impact Wrestling has put the entire wrestling world on notice.
For 15 years, Bound for Glory has been the annual main event in Impact Wrestling. On this hallowed night, character will be tested, championships decided, and the passions, the emotions, and the heated rivalries that have led up to this night bring out the best in these special athletes.
Wrestlers have the opportunity to become heroes, legends, all those things, all those hashtags, all those terms that people say. On that night, you can iconicize yourself to the Impact Wrestling audience, professional wrestling audience.
It's cool to be able to be involved in this, right? Because, like, for a long time, for 8 years, I was New Japan Pro Wrestling, right? And so I would always see what Bound for Glory was, and it's the biggest pay-per-view of the year for Impact Wrestling. And so to be able to be involved in that now, when Impact has so much momentum going, like, it's a bucket list thing for me to be able to be involved in this. I love it.
The importance of it is pretty self-explanatory. You know, there's a different feel in the locker room. You know, it's what you look forward to all year long. So, and getting close to it, you know, you get that feeling in your gut. You know, it's time to step up your game, everybody.
Like, my debut was at Bound for Glory, so it means everything to me. It was in Chicago, it was in my hometown, it was like my comeback. Like, I finally felt good, and I felt like I belonged again, and it was just fun. And remember, like, that's why I started this, because it was fun.
It's the culmination of all our hard work. It's Impact Wrestling and its talent coming together to show what we are. One of the best companies in the world.
It is the culmination of a year of hard work for everyone. This is our biggest show of the year.
This year, it's special in a lot of ways. It's special in it'll be my first one back in a long time. And it's going to be the first one where I can really say I've put my stamp on this company.
Over the next hour, we take a special look inside the lives and minds of the men and women of Impact Wrestling.
The coroner told her that my father was murdered.
And one of the first things he said was, we're not going to teach you to wrestle like a girl.
These are their stories, told solely by themselves, unscripted and uncensored.
It was up to me to take that and learn from that and grow from that and become a better wrestler in spite of that.
But I would say this to him, I would say this to anybody that's listening, him missing on me is a massive failure for him, for his company, for his shareholders, and more importantly, the fans of the WWE.
All roads have led them here. This is Bound for Glory. On June 18th at Slammiversary, the world of Impact Wrestling changed forever.
At Slammiversary, there was a shift. We got the Good Brothers coming in. We got Brian Myers. We got Heath. We got a whole slew of new talent trying to show the world exactly what they're about.
Since Slammiversary, Impact has had just this upward trajectory. We've had more eyes on the product, more viewers. We've had numerous new faces come into the company.
It's a good time right now, I'm not gonna lie. Between the vibe in the locker room, between the big bosses, everybody, we're all on the same page. Slammiversary was like a reboot for us.
There were new faces. There were familiar fan favorites who returned home. It was a night that gave Impact Wrestling the stage and the opportunity to stake our claim as one of the top promotions on the globe.
If you're sleeping on Impact Wrestling, wake up. Because the time to sleep on Impact Wrestling. Scott Moore in the new office came in about 3 years ago. They changed things, they changed the product. And basically we've changed the history of what Impact Wrestling is, was, or will be.
The momentum for Impact Wrestling definitely changed that night, and it changed in a lot of ways. For me, it was an emergence. It was coming from the ashes. I've loved this stuff my entire life, and I can say that the passion, the care, and the want had been sucked from me completely. And that night was like the purest shot of wrestling drugs that I could get.
Kylie Ray is a 28-year-old star that seemed destined to be an overnight success, but she is anything but that.
So I started with the best of the best, Bryce Benjamin in Chicago. And one of the first things he said was, "We're not gonna teach you to wrestle like a girl." I knew what he meant. And it was a tough pill to swallow. I wouldn't be here without him, so he taught me so much. It was like a part lucha, part American school, so I got to learn both, and I was so excited. And then I finally made the decision to move to Texas, because I never had a match. I didn't have anything. I had nothing to show for it. Well, again, I thought I didn't have much to show for it, but actually, my basics, I guess, were pretty passable. I just needed some fine-tuning for at least one match. I didn't know this until I went down to Booker T's. Like, who else would I choose to learn from or like try to learn from? I didn't even know if I could get in. So I just went down there. There were a couple other schools, and I knew I had to make a change because I just wasn't happy. I made the change, right? And look where I am today. Because after just like a month of being there, I had one match. And I won the Diamonds Division Championship in my very first match. It was insane. I don't know where to start about Booker T. Like, I believe everybody is on their own path, and the path that I'm on led me to him. And he was so honest with me about stuff I needed to hear, and it was stuff I wanted, and I had to beg him for this and just keep coming back and keep coming back and keep coming back, and he wouldn't sugarcoat anything. He was so real with me, and it was stuff that I needed to hear. It was stuff that I wasn't good at, and I wasn't getting better at, and I didn't know why. And it's true what they say about, like, he's a Hall of Famer for a reason. I can't recommend Booker T School enough. I'm serious. He's one of the best I've ever gotten the privilege of learning from. And yeah, I owe him everything. So initially when I got contacted by Impact, I thought it was a joke. Like, who could be interested in little old me? You know, I'm like, I'm like, who is this? Who is this? Come on. They offered me a contract, and I was honest with them. I'm not in a good place in my life right now, and if I'm not good for myself, I'm not gonna be good for anybody else. So I needed time to heal, and like, they understood, and it was like a breath of fresh air. Like, I didn't know I could just be like, hey, I'm feeling this way. It was so cool. And then they like respected that, and like, it was like, hey, are you better yet? And I was like, yeah, I'm better now. I want this. I'm ready. I'm here. I want it. I'm hungry. I can do this. I'm ready to be a part of this family. I just loved it, and I felt it. Like, the vibe, it was amazing. And we're doing something great here, and I feel it. October 24th, like, this is huge. Oh my, I need time for this. I gotta prepare. Like, this is the biggest night of my life.
Deonna Purrazzo was someone who found success at a youthful age in her young career. Early on, she found herself competing inside an Impact Wrestling ring in just her 8th match.
I grew up in New Jersey in a small town called Oak Ridge, and I have a twin brother, Dominic. So he is the person who introduced me to wrestling. And the funny story is I was grounded. I wasn't allowed to watch TV, and I went downstairs one night, and he was watching Monday Night Raw. And from that moment, I didn't know what it was, but I was just hooked instantly. I needed to know everything about this product. And from that moment on, I saw women do it, and I knew, like, I'm gonna do that one day. So everything I did the rest of my childhood, whether it was cheering or gymnastics or soccer or softball or anything, it was to one day become a professional wrestler, to get me that grounding and that base that I needed to be successful in the person I am today. For the most part, everyone was super supportive. My brother played football, I cheered for his football team, and my parents were always there. They came to my cheer competitions, they came to my dance competitions. The first time I really had to prove them wrong was with wrestling. You know, I had just turned 18, I graduated high school, I was starting college, and I drove past wrestling school. And it was at that point I had the ability to support myself in going to a wrestling school, and this was a dream that I had always wanted to do. It was like the perfect moment that I was like, this is my time. This is fate telling me you're going to be a professional wrestler. So I went the next day and I signed up for the wrestling school. The first time I walked into my training academy, I was just kind of taken aback. I think of like, oh wow, I'm actually doing this. And then when we got in the ring, I didn't know how to get in the ring. I didn't know how to hit the ropes. I was an 18-year-old girl. I was the only girl in my class, surrounded by 3 or 4 other men, plus our trainers, and it was just an environment I wasn't used to. And I was shy, and I was quiet, and I didn't speak unless I was spoken to, and I just tried to absorb every bit of it because I had waited my entire life. I had almost waited 10 years to be able to stand in a ring. And for me, it was like, okay, I've been in a wrestling ring, I've done these moves, and anything else after is just like icing on the cake for me. I had to defend every opportunity I was given because I was given it way before I was ready for those opportunities. My 8th professional wrestling match was a Knockouts Knockdown in 2014, and your 8th match is a pay-per-view as a woman. People get the wrong idea about you. People give you a perception that's not who you really were. Everything I got, I had to constantly, prove that I was working harder than everyone else, that I deserved getting the opportunities over my fellow trainees, that I was getting them for myself. So the perception that I was given things and I never worked for them is something I've had to defend, for the entirety of my whole career. Madison Rain is one of my best friends, and I met Madison again when I was 18 years old in Impact for the first time, and when I came back again in Impact in 2017, I think it was, I actually got to wrestle Madison on a Knockouts Knockdown, and she was like, let me talk to some people and let's see if we can create an opportunity for you. So the minute that I was actually released of my non-compete, it was 30 days. That next Tuesday, I was on Impact, and we had debuted a vignette and that I was coming soon. So Madison was really instrumental in, getting me all the opportunities and really pushing for me to become a permanent part of Impact Wrestling. And seeing how they're putting their women's division on display really was the solid factor in this is where I need to go. We have Kimberly that had just debuted, Nevaeh had just debuted, Kylie Ray was signing, and I think just there's endless possibilities of talent that we can only make each other better here. And Impact is just letting us do our thing the way we see fit and putting on a showcase every single night.
It no longer was professional. It quickly became personal, very personal.
Still to this day, Deonna is one of my favorite wrestlers on God's green earth. I had the opportunity to wrestle her once before in Los Angeles in front of a very small crowd, and it was the best night. We'll say one of the best nights. Bound for Glory hasn't happened yet. She was amazing. She was everything she says she is. And not only in the ring, I mean outside of the ring. I was a fan of her as a person. She breathes, sleep, eat this business. You can tell. It shows. You don't get to where she was without hard work. She cares. She was representing women in a way that I had never seen before. So to see that, and because we know how hard it is to get that. I know how hard it is. She beat me that night. She didn't break my arm. I don't know how this turned personal, Deonna. You're still one of my favorite wrestlers. And I'm sure I'm not the only one that thinks that. Am I naive for thinking that Deonna hasn't underestimated me? Maybe. I think she respects me. I mean, maybe that's gotten me the hurt that I'm in now, today. Maybe that's what Susie, the hurt that she got into. I don't think she underestimates any of us. I think she knows what we can do. I think she knows what we're capable of. And that's why she's trying to tear us down. Okay, so I will be honest, like, so I am human. Sometimes I get mad. I call it seeing red. For example, like at Victory Road, Deonna broke my best friend's arm and I saw red. But I won't let that happen because I won't let my emotions get the best of me at Bound for Glory. Could you imagine me, little Kylie Ray, holding the Knockouts Championship high above my head at Bound for Glory? That would be amazing. Can you picture it? There's been people, likes of the names like Madison Rain, our own locker room leader, has been a Knockouts champion. The amazing Gail Kim. And come, can you believe it? Come. That's just some of the names. And then Deonna Purrazzo, the current Knockouts champion. Can you imagine right after that? Kylie Ray? I mean, it's nothing personal, Deonna. I'm sorry, you're great, you're amazing. But the top, it's just a rented spot. I got my money. I'm ready to pay up. What should Deonna expect from me at Bound for Glory? Honestly, I don't know. I can't speak on her behalf either. But what I can say is I don't know where this got so personal, Deonna. I'm not out to get you. I'm out to get that Knockouts title. Deonna, and I mean this with no disrespect. At Bound for Glory, you have everything to lose. And I have everything to gain. That's why I'm leaving on October 24th as the Knockouts champion.
In recent months, Deonna Purrazzo and Kylie Ray's feud has reached emotional highs.
Debuting on Impact and after Jordan had her match and going right after her and proclaiming like, I'm the best in the world. And I know it and I'm ready to show it and I'm ready to go right for the champion who's been established and helped create this amazing women's division. For me, it was like, all I've ever wanted to do. I wanted that moment to make an impact. Knowing I was getting that opportunity and knowing that I was, showing myself to the world for the first time all over again was exciting and scary all at once. The next week I have a profile piece and I'm telling you I think I'm the greatest women's technical wrestler in the world. I had a chip on my shoulder, but I also put a big target on my back. And Slammiversary was like do or die for me. So to come out victorious, again, was just like the icing on the cake of like, I am who I think I am who I say I am. Winning at Slammiversary 100% validated me. And it validated all of the proclamations I had made before. I came in and I went right for the champion and I made her tap out to the Fujiwara armbar in the middle of the ring. I think there's probably some jealousy in the Knockouts division because of how I've come in. I was given an opportunity right away to go for the champion. And, now I'm the champion. That was my second official match in Impact, was winning the Knockouts championship. And I've been that girl who's seen people come in and do what I did. And I know how that feels. So I can only attest to the fact that I know people are jealous. I know there's a target on my back, but I'm more than ready for it. I think Kylie Ray is an incredible in-ring performer. But Kylie Ray lacks focus. Kylie Ray lacks intensity. And Kylie Ray cannot separate her emotions from her decisions. And I think that is my biggest advantage come Bound for Glory. I think over the last few weeks, I have demonstrated to Kylie what it means to be in the ring with the Virtuosa, the greatest technical women's wrestler in the world. She's seen me break Su Young's arm, and I think that she might understand what that means, but she doesn't know how to handle it when she steps in the ring with the Virtuosa. I can grab her arm a million different ways, I can break it a million different ways. And I go in with a game plan. Everyone knows what the game plan is. It's to get the Fujiwara armbar. But I don't think Kylie Ray is ready for the new technique I'm ready to display. I am 100% confident going into Bound for Glory. I have no doubt in my mind that when the pressure's on, the Virtuosa can perform. I've done everything up until this point that I said I was going to do. I've been in the spotlight and I've handled myself accordingly. And anytime Kylie Ray is in the spotlight, she's cracked. She's cracked under pressure. So what makes Bound for Glory any different? Maybe I am underestimating Kylie Ray, but it's going to be up to her to show up focused, ready for the fight of her life, because I'm going to be ready. At Bound for Glory on October 24th, I walk out the Knockouts champion because I have ripped Kylie Ray's arm clean off of her shoulder.
You know, I was born in Baltimore, Maryland. I had one brother, my mother and father. They were with me in the beginning.
Picture yourself on the back page.
Growing up in Baltimore, it was tough. It was hard. We didn't have much. My mother, being disabled, she had lupus, and my father, he was a heavy alcoholic. When I was 12 years old, my mother, like I said before, she had lupus, and she also had bipolar disorder. My father and my mother had separated, and my mother had a huge breakdown to the point where she forgot who I even was. I was taken out of the home and brought and put into a home in Tucson, Arizona with a Mormon church family that was very close with my mother. My mother, she went into the hospital as I was in Arizona, and she got herself good. She got on the right medications, but she got a call, and it was from a coroner, from the Baltimore City Coroner's Office. And though my mother and father were separated at the time, they were still married. And the coroner told her that my father was murdered. Once she told me that, I was able to move back home. And then she finds a place about 20 minutes away. It was Eastern Wrestling Alliance. I was finally at home. I found my dream. And it was through my mom being like, I know this is what you love. You know, I was going through a rough time. I lost my dad, you know what I mean? So I'm gonna be acting out. I was acting out a lot as a kid. So everything's going good. It's just me and my mom in a 1-bedroom apartment. So my mom starts getting worse for wear. Her health is just deteriorating. I was doing things, you know, in Maryland, like selling drugs, getting with the wrong crowd. You know, my aunt, she came in, she said, hey, we want you to come here and get out of this area. She had me move to Pennsylvania, York, Pennsylvania, where she lived. It was a little bit rural. It's not too many gang activities going on out there. It's York, Pennsylvania. But so a month after I had moved out there, I signed up to the wrestling school. It was National Championship Wrestling. They saw something in me, and literally once things are starting to get on the ball, starting to get on the roll, my mother passes away.
Tragedy is at my window, searching for a man to follow.
She falls asleep and she has a heart attack in her sleep. The night that she passed, she called me, and I just got back from wrestling training and got into the shower, put my phone down, and I was like, oh, I'll call her tomorrow. I wake up the next day, I call my mom, no answer. I just got this feeling, and I call and call and call, and there's nothing. When I was younger, I was a part of the Big Brothers Big Sisters program, and my big brother Phil, and I hadn't talked to him in a while, but I said, hey, I'm gonna call him because he's close to my mom. And I called Phil and I said, hey, can you please go check on my mom? And he did that. Banged on the door, no answer. Banged on the door, no answer. We drove from York, Pennsylvania to Baltimore that night. As soon as he said there was no answer, and we all walked in together. Imagine that feeling. Being a 15-year-old kid, going through your father being murdered, then to turn around 2 years later and walk into a house and see your mother dead. As a 15-year-old kid, that's heavy. That's something that, you know, I still struggle with today. That image in my mind, burned in my brain. But this, pro wrestling, has never left me alone. It's never felt me alone. It's never made me regret it. This is what keeps me afloat.
I was with TNA Wrestling for 12 years. I've seen the card from every single angle. I've been the opening match. I've been X Division champ, tag champ, women's champ, heavyweight champ, TV champ, Legends champ. And so I've done it all and seen it all at a very high level. And I wouldn't change any of it. I'm a very experiential person. I want to experience everything in life, good, bad, and indifferent. And I believe that the sweet can't be as sweet without the sour. And some of my failures early in my career led me to really appreciate what I'm doing now and who I've become and where I'm at.
My back's against the rope, surrounded by those words you said to me.
The night I won my first Impact World title was a big deal, you know, a milestone. And anybody that gets into wrestling that says that that's not what they want, then they're lying to you, or they're in wrestling for the wrong reasons. But yeah, it was a huge moment for me. It was hard to even take it all in the first couple of days that it had happened. It was special to me. My mom was actually visiting me, and I got to bring the belt home, and she got to hold it, and I have a picture. And that may be, to me, the most special moment. It was that, because it made it very real because of the pride I could see in her. Winning that title and seeing the look in her eyes and my wife's eyes, it's not something I'll ever forget. And that feeling, something like that can never be replaced. Impact was my home. It's all that I had known professionally in wrestling, 12 plus years of service to a company that I loved and I believed in. But at the time, it was going a direction that I don't think I did believe in. And it had leadership and management that I wasn't sure was ever going to put me in a position to fully succeed. And in turn, management and people in charge were people that I didn't trust to make the right decisions for the company as a whole. And if the company is suffering, that means everyone that works there is suffering. At that time, I felt I had accomplished everything, and it was time for me to step away and try something different. My time in WWE, my time in NXT was amazing. I still have a very good relationship with Triple H, which he is the sole reason I went there. I had heard that he had interest in me coming there. We ended up just kind of talking and shooting the for an hour and a half, and we hit it off, and we've been very good friends and very close ever since. So stepping into something like that was so exciting. It was a breath of fresh air and kind of relit my love for wrestling again. And the group I was in, we became one of the top acts in the company, won the tag titles, a very, very successful run. And I think it could have been even more successful if I would have stayed, but that's not what happened. I went to the main roster, and everyone knows what happened there. It was not successful. And I've said this in interviews, I don't think it's personal. I'm not bitter about it. It didn't go the way that I had envisioned or would have wanted it to go. I was never given an opportunity, ever, in the main roster to show what I could do. Vince McMahon, I don't think it was anything against me personally, but he missed, and I'm not the first person he's missed on. I won't be the last person he's missed on, but I would say this to him, I would say this to anybody that's listening, him missing on me is a massive failure for him, for his company, for his shareholders, and more importantly, the fans of the WWE. If you can't find something for me to do on a 3-hour television show, then you failed. You failed as a leader, you failed as a booker, you failed as a promoter. And I take responsibility for that too. I'm just not gonna wait in line to talk to him. I'm a 40-year-old man. I mean, I'm not going to beg somebody. I'm not going to beg and plead and politic. I've never been that way. I let my work do the speaking. I'm a professional through and through. And if that's not enough, then I'll go somewhere else. That's not a problem. The pandemic hit. I was not traveling with the company. I was at home. I was making a significant amount of money to do nothing. You know, I was sitting here. There were no road shows. They were shooting just shows at the Performance Center, and they were only using the people they needed on the show. And I wasn't one of those people. I didn't have a storyline. I wasn't in the middle of something. So I kind of had a feeling it was coming. That's not easy to hear. You know, as someone that's been doing this for 22 years, I can say I've never been fired in anything I've ever done, ever in my life. So that's a tough pill to swallow at that age, and not knowing what's going to happen next. Scott Moore was obviously one of the first people that called, so I knew that was always going to be an option. It wasn't something that I decided quickly. I've been very smart with my money. I live a pretty modest life. The truth is, I didn't need to work right away. I mean, the truth is, if I was really smart, I probably don't need to work at all, ever again. I could retire now and be fine. I know that Scott wanted it to happen. I know that Impact Management wanted to happen. A bunch of guys that work there were pushing for me to come there, and it's a completely different company from the company that I left. I think anybody that was here 4 or 5 years ago would say that it was on fumes. I mean, it was almost non-existent. It almost was gone. And now the hard work's been done and the proof is in the pudding. This is a destination for people that love pro wrestling. This is a pro wrestling television show that's written by professional wrestlers, for professional wrestlers, and more important, for pro wrestling fans. But my opinion is, as a wrestling fan, a guy that's been a wrestling fan since I was 3, there's no better pro wrestling show on TV right now. And I challenge you to convince me otherwise, because the reality is you can't. You're wrong. It's as simple as that. This isn't the best pro wrestling show on TV, and to be the flagship of that program, to be highlighted on that program and counted on and trusted and put in a position of high responsibility is something that I take deadly, deadly serious, and nothing will get in my way to making myself better, and more importantly, making Impact better. If it does well, I do well, and there's nothing I want more in the world for it to do well. It was my savior. It relit my love of wrestling again. And I feel like the television shows have improved every week. And I believe that I'm a massive part of that. And that's all I've ever asked for, is for an opportunity to show the world what I can do. And I'm doing that right now.
Rich Swann is a versatile, high-flying fan favorite in Impact Wrestling. The chapters of his life are filled with challenges, struggles, and loss. But the life story he has authored is all about overcoming the odds.
Dave, Chris, excuse me. Oh. That may have snapped the... Oh, look at Rich. Oh.
When I broke my leg, the only thing that went through my mind was, man, how long am I gonna be out? How long am I not gonna be able to do what I love? And then, let alone that, how am I gonna make money? Just sitting back, thinking, I got bills. Right there in that moment, it felt like it was all taken away. The Slammiversary preview, the teaser video, not only did it catch my interest, but obviously it caught a lot of wrestling fans and enthusiasts' interest, and I wanted to be a part of that, especially with the World Championship at stake. I wouldn't want that opportunity to pass up. Got the call, got myself ready. The feeling was just like, man, I'm home. As soon as I stepped through those ropes, I was like, man, don't take me out. I need this. I love this. I breathe this. I thought that I was the final participant, and then the lights start dimming down and the music comes on. I'm sitting back, I'm like, who could this be? And there goes Eric Young. So I'm sitting there thinking, I've dealt with this man before. He's crazy.
For me, it was a huge moment for me in my career, a very proud moment, a singular moment in the way that it was like a restart. Not a second chance, because I've had those before, but a reset in a positive way, where I can say, I'm part of something. I'm part of something that's going forward. I'm part of something that's growing, and I'm part of a special group of people that care about what they're doing. Slammiversary did not go as planned. With experience comes the ability to change, and change on the fly. And the moment I lost, I hit a switch.
As he's stomping on my leg, the first thing I felt was one of the buttons in my ankle that I was holding together. I felt it pop.
This is a tough business. It's been a hard business long before I got into it, and it will be a hard business long after I leave.
I sat back and I thought, 7 months. This is about to be taken away. When I drove up to the doctor's office, the same guy did surgery on me. I look him in his eyes, and he said, the risks are real. I told you. Now you're back at square one. Brought me right back to that feeling. Now I have nothing.
I don't have compassion for Rich Swann. I don't care about Rich Swann. I care about me. And the problem with that is it's viewed as selfish. But you haven't walked in my shoes. You don't know what it's like to worry and to cater to people only to be stepped on and pushed down. I think I was very clear in my message to Rich Swann was to stay out of my way and stay out of my business. I'm on a trajectory. I was on my way to a certain point in time. That point is now. I am the world champion.
When I saw him win the world championship, that was a clear sign. That was a clear sign saying, Rich, get up, be a man, and get your revenge, and get what's yours. Get what's owed to you. I saw Eric attack Eddie, somebody that lives and breathes Impact Wrestling, that shows up, comes in, busts his ass, doesn't cry, doesn't whine. A man. I threw my hands up in the air and I'm like, you know what, no, I'm doing something about this.
There's a low blow. Eric Young swings that hockey mask. This pile driver certainly will put the exclamation point on this matchup. He's not done wrapping that steel chair around the ankle of Dreamer. There's Rich Swann. What's Swann doing here?
What is he doing?
Rich Swann, he sends Eric Young packing.
Hearing Rich Swann's music and seeing him again, I can tell you that just when you think you can't be pushed any further.
Rich Swann has been doing physical therapy.
Rich Swann is ready for Bound for Glory. I mean,
I'm ready. Richie.
Hey, Sarah! I told you! You're not gonna... you punk! I was trying to do what was right. Rich forced my hand.
This keeps happening. He keeps on going for my leg, making me feel weak. And I started to doubt myself. Maybe I can't wrestle at Bound for Glory.
I want to hear someone tell me Rich Swann quit. It's no secret that me and Scott D'Amore have had a long relationship. I've known Scott for over 20 years. And I don't think it's any secret. It's certainly not a secret to me that Scott D'Amore can be a real mother.
His orthopedic surgeon says Rich Swann will be there and he'll be ready.
And the truth is he got in my way. I warned him clearly stated what would happen.
Eric Young's got his hands on Scott D'Amore yet again.
He created this situation. This is on him. The blood of this company is on Scott D'Amore.
It's Rich Swann! Frustration boiled over for Rich Swann here tonight. Are we looking at the next Impact Wrestling World Champion?
Coming back and winning the Impact World Championship, that's gonna be validation. That's gonna put me up there with the greats. And what it's also gonna do is make sure that nobody else has to go through what I went through. Nobody else has to sit back and have that doubt. That's why I'm coming back to whoop Eric Young's ass.
Just when you think, no, this is me at my most violent. This is me at my most masochistic. And that's just not true. Because I can tell you that I see things completely different now. I'm a different person because of what I experienced. Because of what Rich is putting me through. Rich has learned the hard way twice now. Twice. Once by the wrestling gods, the second time by me. He's out of strikes. BFG will be the last time anyone sees Rich Swann.
Of course, I want to go into Bound for Glory and become Impact World Champion. But win, lose, or draw, I want to make Eric Young feel like he's nothing.